Hello, everybody, and welcome to our first reading of The Legend of Zelda. I'm all the way at the end. Yeah, I haven't used it since our last read-through. Yeah, welcome back to The Legend of Zelda. Hyrule Historia. I want the cover. There we go. That looks so much better. Okay, so if you didn't watch the introductory video I made last week, from the day of this recording, I will, make a more brief thing here just to start off. This will be the first read-through I put on the playlist, even though this is my third read-through. I explained this in my last read-through. Multiple read-throughs are very good for a book if you want to fully ingest it and fully internalize. The first read-through is usually your first, which we did with a physical copy of the book on a camcorder. There was the first initial reactions, and also I gave some thoughts on stuff and my experience with the Zelda series. And in the second read-through, we continued that with the knowledge of what the book is like, except we would get reminded of things we forgot or looked over, and then we analyze it a little more. We give it a little more depth. This time, I am doing a straight read-through. I will not be stopping. I will not be going. I will not be analyzing anything. So I encourage people who haven't followed me in this series to watch this one first if you wish to watch all three, and I really would appreciate it if you did. So with that being said, we are going to begin our journey through the Hyrule Historia for the last time, and this time I don't have to feel bad about any bad quality. You can see everything just fine, which is what I was very looking forward to trying out ever since I got my new capture card. And I wanted to wait because this became more of a yearly thing. I annually started this at the end of January, beginning of February. One more thing before we begin. The future of this series. After the three main read-throughs, I am going to add... In this read-through, I'm going to add Link Between Worlds. Just give my own rendition, summary and everything, like I did in the second read-through. However, there's no other Zelda games. Zelda Wii U is coming out soon, and Zelda Wii U has not been announced what part of the timeline it's in yet. And Hyrule Warriors is not in the timeline at all. So I will be making separate videos for future Zelda releases when they get announced in the timeline. Basically, I like to think of this series more as a look into the timeline, as well as a reading of the Hyrule Historia. So I just wanted to explain that. That's all I really have to say for the introduction, so let's start with the book's introduction. Beginning now, and hope you guys enjoy. On the 25th anniversary of The Legend of Zelda. Shigeru Miyamoto, Senior Executive Director of Nintendo Corporation and General Producer of The Legend of Zelda series. I started working on the first Legend of Zelda project with a small staff in the corner of Nintendo's development office in Kyoto. It was the mid-80s, and the Famicom, editor's note, Famicom is the Japanese name for the Nintendo Entertainment System, or NES, console, had been out for about 2 years. At that time, I was working on the Super Mario Bros. Compilation for the Famicom, but the disc system, editor's note, the disc system was a peripheral for the Famicom that was not released in the United States, was about to come out, and we needed to develop a launch title for it. I thought that we should take advantage of the disc system's ability to rewrite data by making a game that allowed two players to create dungeons and explore each other's creations. We designed the game, and the overall response was that playing through the dungeons was the best part. We made a one-player game with dungeons under mountains that surrounded Death Mountain, but we couldn't shake that I want to play Above Ground 2 feeling, so we added forests and lakes and eventually Hyrule Field. Of course, the title of the game wasn't decided right at the beginning. I knew I wanted to be The Legend of something, but I had a hard time figuring out what that something was going to be. That's when the PR planner said, "Why don't you make a storybook for this game?" He suggested an illustrated story where Link rescues a princess who is a timeless beauty with classic appeal, and mentioned that there was a famous American author whose wife's name is Zelda. How about giving the name to the eternal beauty? I couldn't really get behind the book idea, but I really liked the name Zelda. I asked him if I could use it, and he said that would be fine. And that's where the title of The Legend of Zelda was born. We named the protagonist Link because he connects people together, He was supposed to spread the scattered energy of the world through the ages. The old female storyteller who feeds information to Zelda is named Impa. Her name comes from the word impart. Impa, Link, and Zelda were the guardians of the Triforce. Today, when you think of the characters who are connected to the Triforce, you think of Zelda, Link, and Ganon. But they started in Ocarina of Time. Originally, Ganon was only a villain in the relentless pursuit of the Triforce. So 25 years have passed, and we made a lot of Zelda titles. In the beginning, Link was a bunch of pixelated dots, and now he's a hero who appears fearless, capable of realistic and free movement. Ganon has turned into a powerful arch-villain, and Zelda an incredibly beautiful woman. With better hardware come richer and more elaborate production values. However, I fear that the gameplay might come to rely on and ride solely upon the benefits of improved technology. The most important aspects of the game are the game system, the action, the sensory experience, the creativity, the production values, and the performances. With each generation, the production value evolves. But in certain respects, my involvement has been that of a guardian, to ensure that the gameplay doesn't suffer. And in respect to some gameplay elements, I feel that Skyward Sword, the most recent game, which came out at the turning point of the 25th anniversary, is very well balanced. Over these 25 years, we have come up with new items, changed the way many items are used, made Link's controls more comfortable for solving puzzles, and adapted to and improved new controllers. We have even designed the controller themselves with the Zelda games in mind, and I feel the Wii Motion Plus and the Nunchuck are ideal for Skyward Sword. Shigeru Miyamoto's Hyrule History. 1986, Legend of Zelda Famicom Disk System. 87, Adventure of Link. 91, Link to the Past, and so on and so on. I don't have to go so far. In the year 2011 was the 30th anniversary of Donkey Kong, where my life in video game design all started. I've been involved in countless titles these past 30 years, but The Legend of Zelda is the only game series where a player can input his or her own name. And I think that Link came from his role as a connector, but Link is you, the player. The series has been so successful because the people must solve puzzles and defeat the tough enemies in order to ultimately save the world. I am so thankful that it has allowed us to link with players all around the globe. Even though Ganon is defeated time and time again, he is evil incarnate and will come back time and time again with a vengeance. Each time when the world is blanketed in evil, a young boy and girl will be born. Link's adventures will go on for as long as you continue to love his world. With new hardware will come new games in his series, and I empathetically ask you to give them a shot. 25th anniversary, thank you, Shigeru Miyamoto. And we begin with The Legend Begins, the world of Skyward Sword. Link, it's time to awaken. Your incredible destiny approaches. It's time to wake up. Now, before I start with the introduction, basically how I'm going to work this is I'm going to work this through a time limit. Every time we see a time limit, every time we see it reach about 30 minutes, sorry about that, my gamepad was dying. Had to plug it in. But yeah, I have a time limit. I am going to go to 30 to 35 minutes. 35 minutes is the cap point where I have to stop. I just want those extra 5 minutes in case I'm in the middle of a page or something. So that might mean we're going to get off on really random pages, but I think it's better this way because organizing this book is a little harder with my time schedule. I'm just letting you know. But yeah, that's how it's going to be done. And, oh, whoopsie, I forgot to do this. And yeah, let's continue. Introduction. Were a person to pick a phrase to describe Skyward Sword, the most appropriate would be brimming with all things Zelda. It includes the creative, immersive world, diverse characters, elaborate puzzles, and strong connection to the series that has brought you so much pleasure. Here we present artwork from the initial design stages to completed works, as well as comments from the development staff, and introduce items and elements connected with and intrinsic to The Legend of Zelda. Those who hold the fate of the world in their hands. It was a time when people lived in the heavens, and a time far before the name Hyrule was even a thought. The followers of the goddess and those of evil gathered their numbers and battled it out. The Link presented here is a mere 17 and a half years old. He was designed as such, halfway grown up and not fully matured. In order to strike a thematic balance between this and Twilight Princess, his arrangement and attire remain mostly unchanged, with perhaps only an absence of arm guards. The expressions on his face are portrayed as slightly more comical and lighthearted than before, so that regardless of what expressions he makes, the expressions themselves seem relatable. Additionally, there's a lot of interpersonal interaction with this installment, so the expressions become much richer. Kobayashi, designer. The hero of the skies raises his sword to the heavens, Link. A young boy who attends the Knight Academy at Skyloft, his search for Zelda will not only allow him to mature as a young man, but indeed will introduce him to his destiny. The Loftwing. Our hero who rescues the land will later become Hyrule rides a red bird. This is why the mark of a bird appears on his shield. However, since the design has already appeared, it was some herald as a fate to come. Loftwings are modeled after birds called shoebills, and the idea for their curled tails came from a designer's pet Shiba. Hiraoka, designer. Is our hero always oversleeping? The opening scenes of Legend of Zelda games often show Link sleeping. Is this a way of conveying a notion of a normal person waking up to an unknown and embarking on a hero's journey? A proportion is not feathers, but fur. The silhouette and color are similar to the crest on the Hylian shield. For steering, not flapping, this is where Link places his feet. Long tail. The purple and yellow bring to mind the Master Sword and the Triforce. When not flying, the tail curls up much like a dog's. Provisional model. How he rides test. Differentiating Link's bird from the others. Hairstyle can be changed. Subdued colors. The same white, purple, and yellow color scheme is not to be used. Short tail, handling is reduced. These wings are also a little shorter. Fur is a little shorter. Like Link's bird, Zelda's bird has bright colors and a long tail, evoking a nice feeling. Sacred Shield. Level 1. The appearance of the bird is slightly changed. Level 2. Please make the frames silver. Level 3. The pattern is approved. In order to make sure the face resembles the goddess's and give the sense that she is wearing a shawl, the hair has been changed. Back, belt color, level 1, 2, and 3. Please create the red area with polygons. I want to represent uneven areas with specular maps and bump maps. Sacred Shield final version. Zelda. Much like Link, she is living a normal existence at the Knight Academy when she awakes to the destiny set in motion for her by the goddess. Joined by Imp on the surface world, they do what they must to ensure the safety of the land. This time she isn't a princess, so the first thing we did was remove any sort of regal ornamentation from her head. Afterwards, her look was much too simple. We wanted her to look like a typical village girl, but we also wanted to establish her as a heroine at the same time. So this is what we decided upon. Her outfit is a pretty sky blue, and compared to previous iterations, we went with a dress that was more red than purple. We had a director who requested Goddess Zelda be dressed simply in white. Hirono, Kobayashi, designers. When all this is over, will you come to wake me up? Zelda, Goddess outfit, final design. Goddess Zelda. Braids, comb back, hair band, princess hair, Wind Waker bangs, 2 colors, short bangs, traditional Zelda with bangs. Princess Zelda and the Goddess Harp. The harp in the Skyward Sword looks a lot like Sheik's harp in Ocarina of Time. Could it be the same one? Sheik, Ocarina of Time. Fi or Fi, whatever, so people don't yell at me. Obeying the goddess without question, Fi or Fi, whatever, so people don't yell at me, takes Link as her master. I'm going to say Fi, so she is the spirit that lives in his sword. With her voice and seems robotic and lacks any intonation, her emotions are expressed through her actions in key scenes with Link. Fi. is always at her master's side. Creases in the cape are designed to mirror the Master Sword's hilt, arranged like this. In the game, the head will not be a me, right? Her face is about as cute as Henna, the fishing girl's. Rough, like a hood. So the hairstyle like this. Rigid motif, crystal wielding attack. Her body sparkles so much that it casts light on her surroundings. Grips and swings the mantle about her during her attacks. The bottom of the cape, which is wound around the breast of the wearer, bears a sword motif. One example. Since the spirit of the goddess sword would eventually become the Master Sword, there were many design components taken from the Master Sword and implemented as motifs here. Additionally, at the beginning, we had imagined this a la 1980s anime, in which the main character is usually accompanied by a beautiful personal assistant. There were so many designs from the robot to the cat lady burglar, but once we saw the Wind Waker inspired design, we came to a unanimous decision. Kobayashi, designer. Attacks using earrings and ribbons at wrists, motif incorporating both the sword's scabbard and other elements of the sword, faceless version. Iron Man design. Clean, shiny, reserved, and unassuming shy. When the plates covering her body start spinning at high speed, the fake faceplate rises, detaches from the body, and floats without spinning. Face, body, only body spins. Tights, leg warmer look. Ninja design. Expressionless, seemingly perpetual rigidity. Spinning pose. Shoulder to wrist is blade. Personal assistant model design, marches when walking, tall, her arms bend and cool about her body when she spins, looking like a spiral. Girahim, sword design. Corrected, revised design, darker shading. Harrelgun, snake, sickly. Ideas for Girahim's face, human looking, demonic looking. Girahim, a demonic being that relentlessly pursues Zelda for one reason, to use her spirit to resurrect the Master, the Demon King Demise. I much prefer to be indulged with my full title, Lord Girahim. Girahim doll with mantle. Girahim weapon, knife color. Girahim cape final version, rough illustration. Girahim final version. Ear doesn't protrude. Color and shade of hair are skin are different. Glove, back. Diamond tattoo under hair. Not actually a tattoo, but looks like one. Girahim doll without mantle. When his transformation into sword begins, he turns black, starting with his extremities, under hair. Girahim design 2, mock samurai, second half, lots of weapons. Bronze-like texture, Girahim design 4. I wanted to use as settings. Defense, offense. Metaphosis, eyebrows added. In the last Metaphosis, he becomes a sword. Master, demon. Girahim design, not clothing, but body fur. Girahim design, main weapon is yo-yo. While he does use other weapons, they're all variation on yo-yo. Girahim design, the parts of the mantle more individually like shields. Suspicious half-open eyes made him appear brazen. When his eyes glow, they look so wide. They open so wide they look like they're going to pop out. Cape with hood. When using some weapons, his arms swell. Macho egghead, no fashion consistency. Larger weapons stored in cape. By twisting his body, he can move his hand from his armpit to his back. His showy cape hides his weapons, and he can pull them out at a moment's notice. We won't show him pulling out his weapons. Girahim design. When hypnotizing angry, ta-da, gentle version. Suffers from lack of sleep due to perpetual worship of Demise. The bags under his eyes never go away. He always dresses up. He loves jewelry. The color changes depending on his mood, making it easy to see if he's angry using hypnosis, etc. He summons his weapons from another dimension using black magic. His appearance is reminiscent of a magician. Metaphosis. He does not maintain a stable form. Girahim design 3, Crow. Warning, sharp objects, different attacks. Upon the completion of design 4, we pretty much firmed up Girahim's look. First, we decided that we want him to be around the same age as Link and act as a contrasting counterpart to Fi. And through this, the design of the evil sword spirit gradually revealed itself. His third form had textured diamonds all over his body that would reflect light. Hirono, Kinauchi, Kaneko, designers. Girim third form, image sketch. Girim third form, final version. Girim third form. There are 4 tiered shaped diamonds on his chest. Characteristics. He is more muscle toned than the first 2 forms. He is large in muscular regions, and the skin in places without muscle. Because this body is so exposed, his emotions come through clearly, and he is extremely grounded. Chest is covered by a large diamond. It radiates light when fighting. The entire body is covered in diamond patterns. They look like cut crystals. Please leave the area slightly rounded. Hair angle. Please have his hair at this angle with this thickness and the same smoothness. This area. Eyes. He shows emotion without using his eyes. Pattern appears platinum. Inside the mouth is pitch black. The teeth and tongue are made of the same material as hair. Please make the canine teeth pointy. His mouth opens a bit when he laughs. Impa. Whether in the past or present, she appears to do only one thing, protect Zelda. Sometimes that requires fighting, and sometimes merely watching and waiting. For young Impa, we reference Impa and Sheik from Ocarina of Time. We also gave her an androgynous look, like a male role in an opera. The aging Impa's costume also allows the passage of time, and her entire body is dressed to reflect that. Her pendulum braid measures time, tickling away the seconds. An entire triangular robe she wears becomes a sundial, with her age being measured by the braids of her hair. Kaneko, designer. Young Impa. Masked, young, elderly. Overweight, underweight. Aged Impa. 1 braid for every hair, shaky. Shadow becomes a sundial. She has been waiting for Zelda for a long time. It is possible that she lived without eating or drinking, resting cross-legged. Impa present, final version. Impa, as she ages, you can see more clear that she is a woman. Clothes like Sheik's. The imprisoned and demise, the root of all evil, wielding enough power to bring the world to ruin. The protrusions from his hands and feet look like internal organs. They are limp and do not appear to have bones like regular fingers. When damaged, they explode and regenerate from limb as a single unit. The 3 layers, and each of them expand and contrast, they pulsate like blood vessels. By striking the top of the ceiling spike with a sword, the player can hammer it back into the body. With each strike, 1 pattern is pushed in. The ceiling spike appears to be marble. When it opens his mouth very wide, the skin slides back, revealing its gums. The scales have a pattern of 3 circles. It is possible to animate their red pointed tips. The scales cover the whole body, and we know they will be 5.6 material. They move individually with scale animation, and when they take damage or are broken off, they turn white. The feet bend like a person standing on their toes. The joints appear to be soft. Teeth are lined up in 3 rows like a shark's. Imprisoned final version. Demise final version. Demise sword final version. But the only instruction that would be enormous and that its vulnerability will be on its head, we were allowed to design Imprisoned as we pleased. The design looks more like a kaiju than a monster. Trying to show the impressive presence and the overwhelming power of Demise, we drew him again and again until we got it right. To give him some resemblance to Ganondorf. We didn't make his hair red, but set it on fire. His sword looks like the Black Master Sword. Kinauchi, designer. Humans in the heavens, the tribes below. Now, we just passed characters. I want to warn people right now. If you have never played a certain Zelda game I will be reading about, or if you're new to the Zelda series and you care about story spoilers, do not continue. Leave now, because this book is full of spoilers, and in fact, it spoiled the very, very few Zelda games I've played yet. which I constantly talk about in this series. Just so you guys know, I've added a couple more Zelda games under my belt. I have not finished them yet, but yeah. Let's continue. Humans in the heavens and tribes below. In the sky where Link and the humans live, the surface world is only a legend. Similarly, amongst tribes like the Goron and the Kikwi on the surface, there are legends of great landmass that floats in the sky. This time around, the game maps were kept relatively simple. We challenged ourselves to allow the player quick and easy access between each area. The planners also wanted to let the player jump from a high place and skydive into each area. There was a time when we considered taking a lake near the center of the land too. Fujibayashi, director. Yeah. Elden Volcano, Lainairu Desert, Skyloft, Sealed Grounds, Faron Woods. Illustrations and discarded plans. The two sides of the world. In the Legend of Zelda series, there are many titles where Link travels between two different worlds. There are worlds of light and dark, light and twilight, past and future, and of course, sky and surface. Link is oftentimes responsible for connecting the two very different worlds. Skyloft and the Islands of the Sky. All humans beings live on the floating islands in the sky. The islands are so high in the air that the only birds that can reach them are loftwings. Their isolation allows the humans to worship the goddesses and live in peace. Having a skyloft floating in the air was such a fantastical idea that we didn't try to design the city realistically. The shading and ornamentation on the buildings were designed and created based on the keywords sky, wind, and peace. Also, given the incredible altitude of the sky world, loftwings are the only birds that exist there. That's why it's surprising to the humans to see smaller birds on the surface. Hisada, designer. Smaller islands are connected to Skyloft by narrow bridges, and the surface and the elevation between the islands can be rather extreme, so there were a lot of drafts in the Skyloft's design. In the design on the far left, you can see a structure similar to the castle. Townscape. Sketch of the town. Knight Academy. Dormitory size. School dormitory image. Knight Academy. When we were thinking about making a tutorial for the game, which later became the Wing Ceremony section, we wanted to create 3 rivals for Link. They eventually became the gang of 3 bullies, and then expanded into the idea of a school. Gaipora is the wisest and the most knowledgeable person in Skyloft, so naturally we made him the headmaster of the academy. Iwamoto, planner, Kaneko, designer. Headmaster Gaipora, final version. Dormitory house mother. Iron strings are behind her neck. She prefers to go barefoot, but her ankles get cold, so she keeps them wrapped. Henya, final version. Island resident 4, so little old lady who is kind to the dormitory students, sister of a student's grandmother. She thinks the students are cute, so she makes it a point to swing by the dormitory on her daily walk to check in on them. Dormitory house mother. Dormitory house mother ends up on her back. She's usually barefoot because it's easier to work that way. She started cleaning the dorms when she was that of the soles of her feet were dirty. She wants to ban wearing shoes inside the dormitory and gets upset when people track in dirt. It's worth mentioning that if someone hassles the house mother too much, she snaps at them angrily. She is a strong woman. In the beginning, we decided that all resident Skylofts would be modeled after birds. This is where the idea to give Henya's rooster body came from. Bruce's pointy hairstyle was also inspired by a rooster's comb. Olan and Horal's designs were based off on the Rito tribe from the Wind Waker. Arona, designer. Horwell and the Olan final versions. The hand in the toilet from Oracle Ages. I need paper. It has been said that if you listen closely at the door of the Knight Academy, you can hear a woman's voice called I need paper. A similar story also plays out in Majora's Mask and Oracle Ages, and they may have roots in traditional ghost stories. We will end it here today, and next time we will continue for the students of the Knight Academy. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really want your comments on this one. Should I read the little tiny details in the character boxes here? Like right there, Link's rival, soldier, stuff like that. I'm really curious because I'm going to keep doing them if not, but I feel like that might slow things down and it might get annoying. Just let me know in the comment section. And yeah, again, thank you all so much for watching. I've been Billy, your video game analyzer. Have a good day, good night, whenever you're watching this, and I'll see you in the next review.